better for you. You guys can see me. You guys can see me. Okay, let me restart. Okay. So, today we are going to be discussing how men fall in love. I know you're curious about how men fall in love. And for some reason, you feel like, as a woman, it's difficult to understand exactly what goes on in a man's mind. You spend all this time with men thinking they feel one way, only to realize about 3 months later that they feel a completely different way. I understand that is really frustrating and confusing. Okay. But if you could just understand a little bit better about how and why men are falling in love, maybe, just maybe, you could have an even better relationship with a man, which is why I'm here, is why I exist. And I'm going to share with you a detailed breakdown of the 7 different aspects of how men fall in love. So if you're here, you're paying attention, and you're actively participating in the live stream with me, I want you to say here present so that I know that you're paying attention. Okay. Glad to have all you beautiful people here. Sorry for the delay at the very beginning of the live stream there. I had got started right away without even realizing that I wasn't on screen. Okay, so let's get started here. Welcome to you guys all. I thank you for the happy birthday wishes. I really appreciate that. I had a great birthday. I enjoyed it very much. Ate some good food, hung out with some good people. Okay, welcome all of you beautiful souls in here. Let's get started because I don't want the intro to be too long. People like the intro's too long, okay? So we're going to be discussing how men fall in love. Number 1, we have physical attraction. Okay, let's get started with a little story so we can all be of the same understanding. Let's say, for example, you are at a party, okay? And we all go to parties. We all love parties or event, whatever you want to call it. And a guy comes up to you and he's like, you know what? I saw you from across the room and I really just felt like I wanted to get to know you. I asked my friends about you. None of them knew who you were. None of them have met you before or seen you out before. And I just was so curious what your name is, where you're from. Are you from out of town? What you're like? So I came over here and just thought I would say hello. Okay, let's imagine that a guy does that to you. We have to be for real. I know that we all want to live in our Disney princess movie and feel like, oh, well, he just came up to me and spoke to me because he realized how amazing I was. And that's why he's here. That's why he wants to talk to me. That's why he wants to get to know me. But if we're all being real with ourselves, we understand that physical attraction is the reason these men are even open to getting to know you in the first place. Now, I see a lot of returning viewers, so you guys should know this. Welcome, Missy America. Welcome, Charisse, SH, all you beautiful people. I see Lena Leak, all of you beautiful people, and those of you in the YouTube chat as well. Okay? It's very important that we all, as much as we love to live in our Disney princess movie, we all have an understanding of what's actually happening in real life so that we can use that to our advantage. And when we're talking about how men fall in love, we do have to be real with ourselves. And when I say be real with ourselves, we have to be honest with the fact that these men are not willing to fall in love with women who they're not physically attracted to. What I mean by willing, I just simply mean if, for in the story, like I just told you guys in the example, a guy is not coming up to you at a party to get to know you better if he doesn't first find you physically attractive. Let's just be so for real. Okay? Let's be so for real. Gabby said, you're so late. I already left them. Good. Okay? But let's be so for real. These guys are not coming up to you at a party or event, at a whatever, simply because they can see how amazing your personality is from afar. It's because you have a huge dump truck. It's because you have voluptuous yitties. It's because you look amazing. And that's what's intriguing him to want to get to know you better. Okay? I don't want to burst your bubble or make you feel bad about that, but that's the honest truth. Okay? They're open to getting to know you. They're open to falling in love with you first because they are physically attracted to you. Okay, we have to get that down. I know that that's not what you wanted to hear. You wanted me to tell you some fantastical, magical story, but guys are how guys have always been. They're visual creatures. And so, yes, his physical attraction is going to play a role in his desire to even get to know you, which will be the whole reason or why he even ends up falling in love with you in the first place. He's not going to be open to that if he's not first physically attracted to you. And so you're probably wondering, okay, how can I utilize this information to my advantage? Well, if you understand that all guys, majority of guys, I don't care what he says, I don't care how evolved he says he is, okay, that guys are basing their desire to even get to know a woman based on their first physical attraction to them. Now, you can, if you can realize that, identify that, and be honest with yourself about that, you can then say to yourself, okay, how do I get the most advantage I possibly can in this world? That way I can have my pick of whichever man I want. And if I'm the most physically attractive to those men will be more likely to be open to getting to know me and figure out what an amazing, awesome person I am. You put yourself at a disadvantage of men falling in love with you if you don't take care of that first step. Let's just be for real. Let's be so for real. How many of us in the live stream, and I want you guys to participate here. You guys know that we don't not participate here. This isn't a passive live stream. How many of you have ever experienced pretty privilege before? Tell me in the live stream chat, because I know that most of you aren't ugly. Actually, majority of you aren't ugly. Some of you, I don't know, but majority of you are not ugly. Actually, majority of you are pretty attractive women. Tell me in a live stream if you've experienced pretty privilege before. Okay, whether directly or indirectly. I want to know in the live stream chat if you've experienced pretty privilege before. Brianna says yes. We got Brenda says yes. Kareem says yes. CMS says yes. Sharice says yes. Okay. And the YouTube chat, Nicole says yes, I've experienced that. Enlightened Nate says yes as well. Okay. Nifasimi says of course. Scotty says all the time. Okay. I'm glad that we're all acknowledging that. And SH says no, it's okay. It's okay. We all will. You'll experience it at some point. Don't worry. Okay. Melissa says in the YouTube chat, people hate me actually because of my looks. Okay. I can accept that. I can accept that. Let me just change one thing here over here. Let's see. I just want to adjust the. I see the YouTube chat's quite large here. Let's see if I can adjust that. There we go. So it's not so big. Okay. So the reason I ask you guys that question, okay, the reason I want to know the answer to that question is because if we can acknowledge that pretty privilege is real, if we can acknowledge that pretty privilege exists because you've experienced it, then I think it's time that we be honest that physical attraction, if you don't invest in that, it's going to end up hurting you in the long run. Okay. I know that that's not the thing that you want to hear. I know that's not the fun thing. I know that's not the amazing thing. I know that's not the cool thing that you want to hear me say, because you want to hear me say something different that, bring you to this magic epiphany that, men aren't actually attracted to your looks don't matter and all that good stuff. They matter. Okay. They matter. And the more you can acknowledge that the men are not even going to be open to falling in love with you in the first place, unless they know that your looks are in line and attractive to them, the better off you'll be, because then you can use that pretty privilege to your advantage and get what you want from men and get the men that you want. Okay? Does that make sense? By the way, I want to acknowledge Farine, who started off this live stream. Literally, as soon as I logged onto the live stream and went live, Farine donated $14. Okay, so that is awesome. I really appreciate that, Farine, for donating that as soon as the live stream started. For those of you who are on TikTok and don't know what a super chat is, because that's what it's called, a super chat. It's just like a gift on TikTok. So she donated $14. I really appreciate that. Farine, thank you so much. All right. So physical attraction is first. I know that's not the magical, amazing thing that you guys wanted to hear, but it's true. And so I just seen Diana said, how do we do that? How do we use the physical attraction to our advantage? The way that you do that is by doing things that make you more physically attractive. I don't think we have to go into crazy detail about things that make you more physically attractive. Yes, I'm sorry. You're going to have to go to the gym a little bit more, work on yourself, work on your skin, work on your hair. Make sure you don't look greasy. Make sure you don't look hygienic, look presentable. You should also feel good about yourself. You should feel like when you look in the mirror that you're physically attractive. If you feel like that when you look in the mirror, then you're on the right path. There's obviously things to your appearance that you can't change. You can't change your nose shape. You can't change how wide your eyes are. You can't change stuff like that. But there are things you can control, like your hygiene, how well you dress, things like that, that can be changed and can drastically change your physical attractiveness. I'm not saying that to be shallow. It would be unfair. It would be dishonest of me as a man to come on here and talk to you about how men fall in love and not discuss physical attractiveness or physical attraction, as if that doesn't play a major role in at least a man's initial desire to want to get to know you, which would even lead him to falling in love with you. I would be very dishonest as a man if I came on here and made it seem like these men are going to want to get to know you if they're not first physically attracted to you. Like, that's ridiculous. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why I have to start off there. So I'm sure you can imagine the many different things you can do to increase your physical attraction that the man would have the desire to want to get to know you more. That makes sense. Okay. So number one is physical attraction. We got 7 to get to. So I want to make sure I'm covering all 7 in the time span that we have. Okay. It's number 2. We have categorization. Categorization. I said that right. Okay. So number 2, let's imagine you are one woman. You are one woman. Let's imagine you meet a guy. Let's imagine 2 scenarios. You meet a guy in a art class. No, sorry. Let's say you meet a guy in a museum. Okay, so you go to a museum. You want to check out some art. You're a little creative, little painter and stuff like that. So you go to an art museum. You check out some art. A guy sees you there. He comes up to you. He starts making jokes with you. He starts talking to you. He starts asking you where you're from, all this good stuff. And then eventually he asks you out to a dinner date at the museum. You're flattered. He's an attractive man. And so you say to him, yeah, sure, I'll go out with you on a dinner date. He's like, are you free this Thursday? You're like, sure, I'm free this Thursday. And you guys go out on the dinner date. And what do you think you talk about? You probably talk about art. Nothing wrong with that. Now, let's look at another scenario in which a man meets you at the club. Okay, you're out at the club with your girlies, and a guy who is kind of sloppy, kind of gross. He comes up to you from behind you. He sees you're dancing with your friends. Maybe you got some nice moves, right? He comes up from behind you, doesn't really say anything, doesn't introduce himself, and he just starts going ham on you, right? You're feeling it. You're in the vibe. You're whatever. You want to have fun, and so you back it up on him. You want to have a good time, all right? Let's imagine that. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but what I want you to understand is both of those scenarios are going to lead those guys to categorize you in specific places, okay? Now, I don't want to say this to hurt your feelings or to disappoint you or to make you feel bad, but if I don't say this when I talk about how men fall in love, you will be disappointed because you'll be like, your advice made no sense. Your advice didn't help me do anything. Your advice sucks. Okay? Now, men, this is the reality. Because I'm not here to lie to you. I'm here to help you. Okay? In the process of me helping you, that's going to mean I'm going to share with you some things that you might not like. I'm also going to talk to you about some things that might make you cringe, that might be disappointing to you. But I promise you, if you can get over the disappointment and not feel so offended that you don't hear anything I say, you'll learn something that you can actually take with you. So what I mean by that is you will, anytime you meet a man, you will be categorized by that man in one of two categories. There's in-betweeners, but for the most part, we'll keep it simple as one of two categories. You will either be a wifey type, or you'll be, let's just call it, not the wifey type, okay? What I mean by that is there are girls with qualities that he will want to make his wife out of, and then there are girls with qualities that he does not want to make a wife out of. It's pretty much that simple. In the process of him meeting you and getting to know you, he will determine whether or not which category you fit into. Now, I'm sure you guys are probably wondering, well, how do I know what category? How do I know what the rules are? How do I know how he'll think about this? All of this is literally just a reflection of you. So whatever it is you're doing, that's what's going to help him determine what category to put you in. And I'm just being honest with you. I know that might sound degrading to you. I just have to be real with you, right? Who your friends are is going to determine what category you get put in. Where you hang out is going to determine what category you get put in. How you carry yourself is going to determine that. How you talk, how you walk, how you dress. I know that sounds disappointing, is going to determine what category he puts you in. And the reason I say that is because there is going to be a mental block if you don't pass that. I don't even want to call it test, because test is actually on here. If you don't pass that level of him determining, okay, you have the wifey type qualities, you are in the wifey category, he won't even be interested in falling in love with you. Because you have to understand, like, falling in love is something that it's a feeling, and to a certain extent you can't control it. But what I want you to also understand, especially as it relates to men, they won't even be interested in falling in love with certain types of women. What I mean by that is if the physical attraction is not there, they're not even going to be interested in what it could possibly be like to fall in love with you. The same way, if they just categorize you as someone who's not worth wifing, they won't even be interested or allow themselves to fall in love with you. I'm being super honest with you. Okay, I'm being super honest with you. And for those of you who are like, wait, but sometimes hoes get wifed and sometimes this and get that. I didn't say that men always know how to determine the difference between the two, right? That's not sometimes men don't know how to determine the difference between the two. And sometimes men take other aspects, weigh them more heavily, depending on who they are, and then allow those aspects to override the next thing. So what I mean by that is, for those of you like, wait, but I see hoes getting wifed all the time and this and that. Well, physical attraction, which is why I put it number one, for them has overridden their ability to then say, okay, which category are you in, and be honest about that. Or they just don't see it. Okay. But it still exists, and it's still part of the process of how men are falling in love. And I really mean that. That's why I wanted to break it down for you guys on a more emotional level, so that you can actually absorb it way better than me just giving you a bunch of science. Because what science mean to you? What does dopamine and all these chemicals mean to you? It doesn't make sense. Okay. I want to break it down in a way that can be more understandable to all of us, because we all understand emotions. Not everyone understands science. Okay. Suzuki in the YouTube chat sends a super chat. She says, thank you for the priceless wisdom. I really appreciate the super chat, Suzuki. Thank you so much. And we have so many people on YouTube now. I'm telling you, one of these days we're going to have over 100 people in the live stream on YouTube. Our YouTube chat is so lively, and our YouTube viewership is so lively. So thank you guys so much. Okay. So categorization is the second one. Categorization is so important, right? Because men are going to categorize the ones who they feel are wifeys, right? The wifey type. Those are the women they're even going to be open to falling in love with. Notice I said open, right? Because falling in love is also a process for men. And a lot of times it's a little bit more of an analytical process than it is an emotional process, right? There are things that are outside of our control in terms of like, the type of girls that we'll like and things like that. But for the most part, they're checking off these boxes. And in the process of them checking off these boxes, we're falling deeper and deeper in love with them. And we're allowing ourselves to fall deeper and deeper in love with them. And it becomes uncontrollable. Okay. Right. So as it relates to categorization, I want you guys to understand that it's very important, because I know you don't just want to know how men fall in love. You want to know how men fall in love and how you can use that to your advantage to get what you want, or to get a guy to fall in love with you. So as it relates to categorization, I want to be very clear with you, as much as it might suck to hear, if your friends are not a representation of who you think you are or who you want to be, you're in misalignment. If your environment doesn't accurately represent who you want to be, then you're in misalignment. And when I say misalignment, I mean, if you want to present yourself, I'm assuming you guys are here because you want to present yourself as the wife. I'm assuming that's why you're here. I don't know why you'd be here if you want to present yourself as the hoe. Okay. But assuming you want to present yourself as the wife, it's not just about wanting that in your mind and not actually embody that. Okay. Right. It's not just about saying it and not doing anything about it. Jewel Dropper says this dude has never been a player in his life. Okay, if that's what you believe, that's perfectly fine. I don't mind if that's your belief. If you believe that though, and if you believe I have no value to offer, then you're probably wasting your time listening to me then. Okay? So, categorization is very important to understand, because if your mind is not if your actions and your environment is not in alignment with what you're trying to represent, what you're trying to present to people, or specifically the men, then don't wonder why these men find it hard to fall in love with you, or why you can't get a guy to be deeply invested in you. We'll even put it like that. Okay. Mona says, stop responding to hate comments. Okay, I will. Me no respond to hate comments no more. You hate commenters get no response from me. Mona said, okay. It doesn't really bother me either way. Now, it's very important that you guys are aware of that, and that I'm honest with you about that, because that categorization can be a big blocker to these men. And they're like, I have to explain this to you in a way that might not make sense, but a lot of guys can actually turn their emotions off for certain types of women once they present themselves in a particular way. You understand what I'm saying? And the best way for me to explain that concept is by explaining to you the idea of, like, let's say as a guy, and this has happened to me, like, this is devastating as a guy. This is why I want you to understand, like, this is what what the adult men are going through. This is devastating as a guy to, like, let's say you're talking to a girl. Let's say you hang out with her a couple times. You really like her vibe. You really like how you guys laugh and giggle together. You have fun. You guys just get along real well. You feel like that could be your best friend. And so you're getting along with this girl real well, and you haven't really told any one of your friends about the girl that you're hanging out with or spending time with. So you go and you're hanging out with your guy friends. Let's say you guys are watching the game or whatever. And then he goes to you and he tells you, hey, guys, yo, look at this, yo, this girl I'm talking to, yo, she's mad cool, yo, she's the best, yo, she's super dope, da da da. And he shows them your Instagram, and then they go, oh no. Bro, what? And you're and I promise you, I'm telling you right now, the feeling that goes on in your stomach as a man when your boys go, oh my God, you're talking to her, it's something you can't really describe. You can only feel as a man. And then they go on to say, oh, bro, and I was with her the other, like last month, or I know my boy who was talking to her. She's crazy. She be doing all this crazy. She's a freak, yo. My next man had her this and that, da da da. And I just say that to say as much feelings as he was feeling towards you before he heard all of that, in an instant, hearing that about you, just like that, will erase all his feelings for you. Not that he doesn't have those feelings anymore towards you or feel good about you anymore. It's the simple fact that he doesn't want to allow himself to feel any ways towards you because he knows you're in a category that is not a wife. Not say that you've ever done that or whatever, but I just want you to understand how these things go. I also want you to understand how sometimes you might meet a guy, maybe from your town or whatever, you start dating him and all of a sudden, snap of a finger, he's no longer into you. Not all the time that's the reason, but I just want you to understand some things that might be going on, right? These men are not even going to allow themselves to fall in love sometimes if you're not falling in line in this particular category of wifey. I have to be honest with you. Like I said, I can't talk to you about how men fall in love if I don't be honest with you about the categorization that goes on. And I've talked to you guys about the McDonald's and the 5-star. Maybe another live stream will go in depth more into that. But it's so important because it's so relevant to how these men are falling in love. It's not really just about, I like you so much, right? Like you also have to fit certain criteria for them to even allow themselves to fall in love with you. The same way the physical attraction is almost like a checkbox that has to be checked before he'll even be interested in getting to know you to eventually fall in love with you. So that's part of the process. You understand what I'm saying? So you have to be aware. I'm not here to tell you how you should live your life. I'm not here to tell you what to do with your life. I'm not here to tell you where to go, how to act, how to talk, how to speak, how to dress. Do whatever your heart desires. Truly, I mean that. However, you must be aware that how you represent yourself is going to affect what category these men put you in, which subsequently is going to affect how willing these men are to even fall for you in the first place. So if you find yourself in a position, in a situation where men seem to not get too invested in you, if you find yourself constantly in a position where you don't think that your environment is a good representation of who you want to be, then you probably have some adjusting to do. Okay? Because if you start saying things like, oh, I go to the club with all my girlfriends, but I'm nothing like them. No. I work out. I go to the gym. I take care of myself. I do all the stuff that they don't do. They're just club brats, but I'm nothing like them. But they're my best friends, though I love them. That's not how that works. Okay? You can't spend all your time in the same environment as people and then talk about how you're not just like those people, even though you spend all your time in the same places as those people. Do you understand? And I'm not saying that to attack you. I just want you to understand how that misalignment can actually affect a man's willingness to want to get to know you or build a relationship with you or fall in love with you. Okay? This is the honest truth. Okay? I saw Paulina says that's very immature. I don't mind you disagreeing, but my only question to you is, if you think that's immature, do you think that a man who spends all his time in a nightclub or at bars, let's say you were dating a man and you found out that he went out to nightclubs and bars every weekend and like 5 times a week, would that affect what you think of him? Would that affect your view or perspective of his character or who he is? If your answer to that is yes, then you're acknowledging that you categorize men also based on how they carry themselves, how they approach life, the things that they do, and the places that they hang out. Not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that to say you also have to accept that truth the opposite way. Okay. Paulina says, my ex-husband was a club promoter. There's nothing wrong with being in clubs. Well, Paulina, did you not just say that was your ex-husband? I don't want to diss you, but you just said that was your ex-husband. So I don't know if that means that it worked out the right way. No diss there. That's what you said. Okay. Anyways, let's move on to number 3. Test, all right? And no diss. I honestly don't know, like, no diss. You just said that's your ex-husband, and then yeah. Anyways, so number 3. So number 1 we had physical attraction. Number 2 was categorization, and number 3 we have test. Okay, so let's imagine you let a guy come over to your house after 2 dates. Okay, so you guys have went out for 2 dinner dates. It was fun. It was good. It was awesome. You guys had fun. You enjoyed yourself. Nothing inappropriate. He was respectful. Opened doors for you. Nothing overly sexual, right? Nothing weird, right? And you go over to you allow him to come over to your place because you're like, okay, he's done a good job. He's done everything that you want. But you make it clear to him that, hey, despite you coming over, despite you spending, some time with me, we're not going to be doing anything inappropriate here, right? We're going to treat it like we're out in public. And he's like, fine, that's fine. I don't mind that. We can, I'll be respectful. Things don't have to go get hot and heavy. We're only on our 2nd date and all that good stuff. So he comes over. Excuse me, I had a burp just holding in my stomach there. So he comes over to your house and you guys are talking, chatting, watching Netflix, all that good stuff. And then he starts feeling up on you. And now you're confused because you thought you said that you weren't going to do anything inappropriate. But then when he's feeling on you, it just feels so good. And you haven't been touched in so long. And all these emotions and feelings start rushing through you. And so as he's touching you and feeling you, now he's kissing you. Now you're accepting kisses from him and you haven't been kissed in so long. You haven't been kissed or touched in so long. And you're accepting as he's escalating. Guys love to escalate, right? He's escalating and he's taking your not saying anything as compliance, right? And one thing leads to another, and eventually you guys sleep together. Now, this is, let's say, the 3rd date because you've had 2 dates prior. And on the 2 dates, you've been talking about how, you're only here to build a real relationship. You're not here to do anything weird. You're not here to do anything inappropriate. You're not about to jump right into stuff that you guys aren't ready for. And even though he accepted that, he still came to your house and tested you. This is why number 3 is test, to see if you were really about what you say you were about. Now, I know some of you are probably like, what does that have to do with how men fall in love? The same way I just told you about the categorization and the same way I told you about the physical attraction and how these things have to be in alignment in order for a man to even say to himself, okay, I'm actually willing to fall in love with this girl, or I actually am falling for this girl, right? He's going to test you. Even if you present yourself as the wifey type, he's going to test you to make sure you are actually that, okay? Now, sometimes he's going to test you to make sure you're actually that because he's really trying to see if he can build a real serious relationship with you. Sometimes, to be honest with you, it's just for his own ego. And when I say it's just for his own ego, I hate to make men seem like horrible people, but I have to be honest with you about what goes on in life. Okay? How do I say this? I won't put this on all men. There are men who enjoy this is going to sound so bad. There are men who enjoy the aspect of girls talking a big game about, I'm this wifey, I don't let no one hit it, everyone has to wait 3 months, nobody's even done anything with me except for my boyfriends. All this big and bad talk that girls love to do at the beginning. There are some men who get a rush of excitement, or just a rush in general, from proving those women wrong to themselves and to him. And when I say proving those women wrong, I mean sleeping with them way before they ever said that they were willing to do with any other guy. Because then it makes them feel like you had these boundaries, you had these things that you wanted to do, I came along and my charm, my wit, my words, my actions, I'm so smooth that I still got from you what I wanted, despite you wanting to stand up for yourself, be this amazing stand-up woman that stands on business and, is never going to give in to a man. Right? Nate just said, I just love getting in woman's head in whatever way possible. So clearly Nate is one of those guys, right? And I say that because that's real life, guys. And these guys are going to test you to see which category, again, they can put you in, because they also understand, and I'm talking about as men grow older, they also understand that a lot of women are talking a big game. And so when you're talking about your heart as a man and giving your heart to a woman, they're also understanding of some women will talk a big game, but not actually be about a big game. So you test that to really get a sense of if they are about what they say they are about. I know you're probably like, this doesn't even sound like love. This doesn't even sound like anything I've ever experienced. It's not supposed to. You're a woman. We're men. The way we fall in love is going to be drastically different from the way you fall in love, right? Because for us, it's not about the resources you have. It's not about how much you can protect and provide for us. It's really about respect and loyalty, mostly for most men, okay? Just going to be real with you. It's really mostly about respect and loyalty. So everything that's going to be related to how he falls in love with you is somehow going to fall in line with those two things, because the respect and the loyalty helps him feel like a man and puts him in his masculine energy that he can then in turn for you protect and provide. So everything about him falling in love with you is going to be somewhat directly or indirectly related to those two things, respect and loyalty. Okay, right? So in the process of him testing you, he wants to see if you're about what you say you are about. Okay? He wants to make sure and ensure that he has not been tricked or duped himself by convincing himself you're in the wifey category only to realize that you're not. And like I said, there are some guys with their wires crossed that they let that physical attraction to a woman take over their mind, that they don't then look out for these other things, or they ignore them and go about the relationship without checking off these boxes. Rest assured, even the men that do that, right, only focus on the physical attraction and never try to check off these boxes or just ignore them, their guy friends are the ones actively telling them, hey, look out for this. Hey, are you paying attention to this? Hey, what about this, right? Because those other men, their friends, right, who are not necessarily as invested in the girl, are also understanding subconsciously, even if they're too emotionally stunted to spell it all out and say it all out, they also understand that the process of a man falling in love is not just, hey, you look good. Because guys also understand that that's lust. Guys also understand that lust can take control of your mind and confuse you that whether or not you're actually in love with that person or whether you're in lust with that person. Guys understand that, which is why we get together and we give each other advice and say, yo, bro, she's not it. Yo, yeah, you're tripping, bro. She look good, but she's for everybody. Or that's not the type of girl you want to be in a relationship. That's why we get together and advise each other that way. Because that process of checking off those boxes is actually what allows us to fall in love with a woman. If we don't do this the right way, and we only base our desire to fall in love with the girl based off of physical attraction, that's not really love. That's what I'm trying to help you understand. The guys that have these wires crossed or do this the wrong way or don't do it like this are just basing their feelings or their love off of their lust for you. That's why the physical attraction thing was number one. And it's so important because that's the only way he'll even be interested in wanting to get to know you and falling in love with you. But also it can work against the guy because it can work to his detriment. Because when he starts thinking of all the other things, the categorization, the test, ensuring that you're the right person, If the physical attraction is too prevalent on his mind that he can't think or see anything else, maybe you're the most beautiful, hottest, sexiest girl he's ever had in his life, and he can't think of anything else except the fact that you're the most beautiful girl he's ever met, and he doesn't check off any of those other boxes, he's really not falling in love with you. He's actually falling in lust with you. And even as time is going on, he's only falling deeper and deeper in lust with you. Okay, but that lust is not sustainable because the lust is only about how you look right now. So God forbid anything might change about your physical appearance, or there might be an even better looking girl that comes along that wants him. Now you're in a heap of trouble. That's why I say that's not love. For those of you who are confused, like, wait, but the guys fall in love with hoes, and the guys fall in love with girls who are not in line with any of the stuff that you're saying. That's not really love. I'm gonna be real with you, because if it's really just about that physical attraction and nothing else matters, then what happens when a hotter, more better looking, beautiful girl comes along? The same thing, right? The lust cycle. Okay, so number 1 was physical attraction. Number 2 was categorization. Number 3, we have the test, right? And number 4, this is where we're getting really deep with it. Number 4, we have character, okay? Number 4 is character. Now, let's imagine a scenario, okay, in which, let's say you're dating a guy, we'll say for 12 months. So a year you're dating this guy for. In the process of that year, as time goes on, you guys are going to experience each other in multiple different scenarios. When I say multiple different scenarios, I just mean life happening. So you got family scenarios, going out together, going out to eat, going out with friends, having get-togethers, all this different stuff, fights, arguments, long chats, heart to hearts, all that great stuff that you go through in the process of being in a relationship with someone. In that time period, he will build his understanding of your character. Now, character is so important because once you pass that more surface level stuff like physical attraction and understanding she's a wife type, now is when we really get into the crux of like the emotion behind falling in love for men. Because your character, and truthfully and honestly, this character thing is the big thing. Okay, so I'm going to spend quite some time on this, because this character thing, when we're talking about, listen, we're talking about love here. We're not talking about lust. When we're talking about love, this character thing is make or break. Because when these guys talk about, oh, I knew I wanted to make you my wife. Oh, I know I wanted you to be the mother of my children. Oh, I want you to be my baby's mother, all that good stuff. What they should actually be referring to as the reasoning for that is your character. If he's serious, if he's like really means it and he's really genuine about it, it should be about your character 100% of the time, because character is the thing that doesn't change no matter how much weight you gain, no matter whether you're 300 pounds, 200 pounds, whether you're pregnant with his baby and your feet are swollen, or whether you still look like a supermodel with a super tight body and you're a size 0. Okay, your character doesn't change. And so in the process of him falling in love with you, he's going to actually fall in love with your character, your intangibles. Okay? Because that's what's going to keep him there with you specifically as time goes on. Because as time goes on, yeah, even if you were the hottest, most beautiful, wonderful girl at the beginning, eventually you'll be older, still beautiful, still hot, still amazing, but you'll be older, and there will always be a younger, hotter, more beautiful woman out there. So there has to be something that he is attached to, and we'll get to attachment in a second, that he is attached to about you that can't be replicated or duplicated by someone else. This is why it gets really deep here. So we're going real philosophical. You know I'm a super deep guy. We always go super deep with it. Okay? Right? Your character is the thing that's your fingerprint. Okay? Think of it like that. That is your fingerprint, because people can't duplicate that. The quirks about you, the person that you are, right, can't be duplicated by someone else that just comes along. Because remember, character is something that you develop an understanding of over time. It's not something that you just, oh, I just meet you, and as soon as I met you, I understood exactly what your character was and I fell in love with your character. Imagine if a guy came up to you at a party, right? And he just saw your fat booty walking around, your huge dump truck in your tight pants, and he went up to you and he was like, "Oh my God, girl, you've got such an amazing character." You'd be like, "What? What? Is that a joke? Is that a line that you came up with? What? I have the most amazing." Just say I have a fat ass. Just say that. Don't talk about I have an amazing, because that don't make no sense. Right? Character is not something they can just see or sense right at the beginning, which is why whenever you come across these guys that will have you believe or will try to convince you, "Oh my God, when I met you, oh my God, girl, when I met you, it was love at first sight, me and you, girl, y'all. I just seen you from across the room and I just knew like you gonna have my babies, girl. Like I knew you was such an amazing person and I knew I was just gonna love you for the rest of my life and I knew we was gonna build a family together." Really? How would you know that? How would you determine that I would be a great mother to your children by looking at me from across the room? How would that work? How would you grow an understanding of who I am as a human being by looking at my ass and my tight pants? How would that work? Right? And so I say that because character is truly something that can only develop over time, and you'll feel it developing over time because it will feel appropriate, right? As he's falling in love with your character, it will actually feel appropriate. When I say appropriate, it won't feel like he's describing character traits or personality traits about you that he's never even experienced. Even if they're true, you'll be like, you've never even seen that from me. We haven't even had a situation where you would have been able to experience that. So what are you talking about? I'm the most generous, kind person you've ever met. What have you experienced about me that was kind and generous? You took me on 2 dinner dates and you paid for both of them. And then I went on home and said, "Thank you. I'm the most kind and generous person you've ever met because you took me on 2 dinner dates." You just be like, it just makes no sense. Right? And that's why I say character is something that gets built over time. And your character are your internal traits that last a lifetime. Because when he commits to you, he's committing himself to your character. Because that's something that's not going to change no matter what. That's why I tell you guys, for those of you guys who are A++ students and have been here for a long time, you should know. Tell me, what's the question I tell you guys to ask in the live stream? For you A++ students, you should know, what's the question I tell you guys to ask all the time when you're trying to gauge a guy's level of interest in you and how interested he is in you, right? What's the question I always tell you guys to ask? It's about character, okay? If you're an A+ student, you should know this. If you're new here, I know we have a lot of new people on YouTube, and I'm sure we have a lot of new people on TikTok as well. Maybe you don't know this. The A+ students will be able to tell you. Okay, what's the question that I tell you guys to always ask? Ken says, not me being a C- student. It's okay, you'll learn over time. There are A++ students in here. Okay. I see a couple of you have already said it. You guys know what it is. Okay. Missy America in the YouTube chat says, "What are the character traits unique to me that you like about me specifically?" Okay. So for those of you who are new here, I'll give you the whole answer. Sorry, the whole question. So the question that you ask someone to get a gauge of whether or not they're seeing and understanding your character and whether they're really interested in you, you ask them what character or personality. If you could, are my moderator. So Missy America, by the way, guys, Missy America, she's the first YouTube moderator. I just made her a moderator today. So let's clap it up for her. So Charisse, Missy America in the YouTube chat, and then SH as well, and Brianna, if you guys could write this and pin this for everyone at the top. So the question is, what character or personality traits unique to me do you like about me specifically? That is the question that you should be asking to gauge a man's interest in you. And I'm so serious about that, because And if a man can actually answer that in a detailed way, then you know for sure he's actually seeing and absorbing your character. And by the time he gets to the point where he's seeing and absorbing your character, that is the process of how men fall in love, because he's only going to fall in love with your character. He's not going to fall in love with your dump truck. Jules says, do the live keep lagging when you say something important? Don't worry. If you miss a single thing that I say, you can always go over to YouTube and rewatch the live in its entirety. Don't think that it's gone forever, okay? But yes, congratulations to Missy America in the YouTube chat. She is the first moderator. She's always here right on time, right? Kareem says, when can I ask that, digitally or personally? My advice to you, you guys should know me by now. I always advise you to do everything in person. Get out of this habit of texting. Get out of it. Get out of it. Throw it away, especially with your romantic partners, or especially with the people you're trying to build a romantic relationship with. I know for some of you who have been in relationships for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, texting might be a good way to keep up with each other's whereabouts and schedule and, things like that. But for those of you who don't already know the person and are trying to build a relationship with the person, get rid of this, or only use it as a tool, okay? Do not use it as a crutch, okay? Maybe one day we'll have a whole conversation about just phones and texting and all that stuff. But the texting and the phone and the Snapchat and the Instagram, a lot of you are using it as a crutch. And I don't say that from a place of I'm better than you. I've been there, which is how I know that this literally will have you messed up. When you use it as a crutch, you will not be able to build real relationships with people, because you'll be building your idea of them in your mind over this phone. I'm telling you the truth. I sound like a dad and I sound like an old man. I'm just telling you how I know it's affected me and my own relationships, and for the worse, because you will never get to know someone truly over text. Even in a long distance relationship, this is a pro tip. I think I've given you guys this before. I'm going to tell you guys, this is a secret. We're a little bit off topic, but I'll give you guys a pro tip. For those of you who are in long distance relationships or doing a long distance thing, you want to have a pen pal. First of all, I want to clue you in on the fact that men are the same everywhere. Okay. So I know that for you, having a pen pal that lives in another city or another country is more riveting and exciting, and it gets your Squirtle all stimulated, because he's a man living in another city, so he must be so much more amazing than the men living in my city. Newsflash to you. The women living in his city think the same thing that you think about the men in your city. And so they think that the men in other cities are way more amazing and way more awesome. I say that to say, you guys having these pen pals because you think the men in other cities are more amazing, you don't realize, we just talked about physical attraction. Just let's be honest about men are physical and visual creatures. You need to understand that some of these men are actively just in the business of having a pen pal that they don't plan on actually seeing in real life. You know why? Because the person they're seeing in real life is totally different from the person they're texting. They're texting you and they're seeing and spending real physical time with another girl, or they're exploring those options in a way where they can only see and talk to you when it's convenient for them or they have time. But as it relates to everything else, and they're spending that time with another girl or building relationships with other girls or just using it to pass time. I'm not saying every guy's doing that, but for those of you who are in love with being a pen pal, I'll just advise you, the guys who you are pen pals with that never seem to want to talk about you guys actually meeting up in real life in person and scheduling some sort of trip to see each other, are probably using you as a pen pal, whether to be they want to jerk themselves, or just for fun, or just to, because they're bored, whatever it may be. A lot of guys are doing that. That's just the pro tip. Okay. Bree said, hope you had an awesome birthday. Yes, I did. Thank you so much. Okay. Right. That's I just have to be honest with you guys about that. I know that was a little bit aside, but I know a lot of you guys be talking about long distance relationships, so I just wanted you to be aware of that. Okay, so Number 3 was test. So let me go through all of them that I had. Number 1 was physical attraction. Number 2 was categorization. Number 3 was test, and number 4 was character. By the way, as it relates to character, because I know you guys want actionable items, you guys don't just want me to say it, you guys will also want me to help you understand how you can utilize that to your advantage. Okay. So showing consistency in character makes it easier for him to learn that he can trust you and put his guard down with you. Okay. I don't want to make it seem like, oh, it's all about the men. It's all about what the men want, what the men think, and how they feel and things like that. But I do want you to understand, if you want a guy to get a guy talking, you want a guy to start opening up to you, you want things like that to happen for you so he can feel closer to you, fall deeper for you, he's going to have to see that consistency in your character, that he feels he can trust you with his deepest, darkest secrets. Okay. And when I say consistency in character, I just mean like, be the same person all the time. Okay. Even if that means you're an emotional person, just be that person. Don't be an inconsistent person where you're here one day, you're here the next day, and he feels like he can't trust you with things. He feels like you're not on his side. Be a consistent person. Have a consistent character that he can wrap his arms around and get behind. I don't mean that in a dirty way. Get your mind out of the gutter. You understand what I mean? Okay. So number 1, physical attraction. Number 2, categorization. Number 3, test. Number 4, character. Number 5, we have attachment. Okay, number 5 is attachment. So let's say as time passes in your relationship and he begins getting more and more attached to you, more and more familiar with you. Excuse me. Sorry. And he begins getting more and more familiar with you. After a while, he enjoys little things about you, like your smell, the different quirks about you. He enjoys the inside jokes that you have, right? Because as he is actually falling in love with you, and this is actually how men fall in love, that attachment towards you, the person that you are, grows. The traits that you have, the quirks that you have, grows. And he becomes attached to those things about you. Okay? And that's why I say, when I talk to you guys about even character, and I talk to you guys about a great question to ask as it relates to character, these are the things, the reason I tell you guys to ask that is these are the details about you as an individual that men will only be paying attention to if they are in the process of falling in love with you. Men will not be able to, fall in love with you if they are not paying attention to these things, right? If they are not falling in love with your character, if they're not becoming attached to who you are, attached to what your character is, they're not actually falling in love with you. They might be falling in lust with you. They might be doing some other weird thing, but they're not falling in love with you, because the love is not about the physical, right? The love is not about your dump truck. The dump truck opens the door to him wanting to be interested in getting to know you and then eventually falling in love with you. But the dump truck is not why he falls in love with you, truly and honestly. Okay. But it is part of the process, right? And so as his attachment grows for you, right, so does his love for you, which is why as he experiences your character in all these different scenarios, all these different situations, all these different walks and areas of life, his attachment towards you and the person that you are continues to grow and grow and grow over time, which is why you'll have guys talk to, I don't know, have you guys ever been in a relationship or a situation, whatever ship, with a man, and he points out the things that you do that are so small and detailed that you're like, how on earth did you even notice that about me? Like, he'll tell you some weird stuff. Like, he'll be like, yeah, when you get really upset, you have like a left eye twitch, and your eye twitches exactly 3 times if you're like super upset. Or like, if you're really happy, you'll get like these weird tears, like just build up right on the bottom of your eye. Just really intricate details that he'll describe to you about you that you'll be like, I didn't even notice that about myself. How did you notice that? You understand what I'm saying? Have you guys ever experienced something like that? SH says, yes. Okay. How many of you have experienced anything like that? Sharice says yes. Nat says the vein in my forehead. Okay. Yes, mine. Someone says yes. Mine says I'm puffed up if I'm mad. Okay. Zay says yes. Rain says yes. Oh my God. Denise says the scrunching my. I think you meant nose when I'm happy. Oh yeah, you said nose, right? Silva says yes, but he was a friend. He might be in love with you. Right? And Enlightened in the YouTube chat says, yeah, with a guy friend 10 years that I asked you about. See what I mean? See what I mean? Enlightened A? See what I didn't even know that. And look how I just mentioned something that he does. And we already acknowledged what guys who are going to spend 10 years of their life invested in you probably think of you. Okay. So that should probably confirm to you what we already discussed. Right. Right. So it's Melissa in the YouTube chat said Virgo men are really observant. Right. And it's the truth, right? These guys become attached to who you are. Their understanding of your character grows, and they become attached to also these quirks that you have. And they are so detailed in their understanding of it because they're actually caring and falling in love with you if they're not already in love with you. That is real. That's how you should know. When I'm speaking about something, I haven't been in any of your relationships. I've not been none of your mans, none of that. So if I'm speaking on something that's happened to a lot of you, then you should know there's probably some truth to what I'm talking about. Right? These men that are noticing all these super small, minute details about you, it's not for no reason, which is why I also tell you guys, if you want to determine if a guy's truly interested in you or he's just trying to play you, these guys who are just trying to play you, I promise you, cross my heart, hope to die to the heavens. These guys who are trying to play you and just want access to your Squirtle are not paying attention to intricate details of your personality or character. They don't give a rat's ass. I promise you. I'm saying that as someone who's actually felt that way. The girls I don't care about, I do not pay attention to their character traits or personality traits. I don't care. I just want access to their Squirtle. Everything else is irrelevant to me. I might play, nice with them just for more access, but I'm not actually paying attention to the things. I'm trying to keep it as generic and painless as possible if I'm in that mind state of just extracting Squirtle. I'm keeping it as easygoing as possible. I'm not here to pay attention to all your little quirks and all your little personality traits. Hey, boring. And if you do ask me about that and I'm just trying to play you, but I want to trick you, I'll just say something generic and vague to make you feel good. But the guys who are really interested in you will really be able to tell you what it is about you that they love. And it'll seem like, why do you like that? That's weird. That's weird. Bree says, oh great, I have to live with the fact that he might have actually been serious and I messed it up. Hey, we all live and learn, right? So number 1 was physical attraction. Number 2 was categorization. Number 3 was test. Number 4, we have character. Number 5, we have attachment. Number 6, we have integration. Okay, now I know this one might be a little bit confusing for you guys when I say integration. Okay, by integration, I just mean the integration of you into his life, building a routine around you being in his life. Right? Chubby Girl says my bestie's online. Do you mean me or everyone else in the chat? So let's imagine, right? Your relationship's growing with the guy. Let's say you guys have been together for 8 months now. In the process of you guys being together for 8 months now and talking for 8 months, right? It's not just about, okay, we'll hang out once a week when I'm free, or, I'll hit you up if I want to hang out or I want to go out on a date and maybe I don't talk to you for another 2 weeks. At the point where the relationship has been ongoing and is serious now for real, you guys are going to start integrating each other into your individual lives. So what I mean by that, he's going to start saying, all right, what's your schedule for the next week or 2 weeks? All right, I'm going to send you my schedule for the next week, 2 weeks. We're going to organize all the days we're going to hang out for the next, 2 weeks, We're going to make sure, okay, we got this free. Oh, I'm supposed to go to my mom's thing. You want to come with me to my mom's thing? I got this wedding to go to in 2 weeks. You're going to come with me to my mom's wedding? Oh, no, I got this going on and I got work. Okay, maybe I'll take that off and da-da-da. Right? And I know you're probably like, how is this men falling in love? I'm telling you, this is the process, because as that attachment grows, as that all that other good stuff grows, the character and all that good stuff, right? He's going to begin integrating you into his life in a way where you're actually part of the regular routine. You're not just a thing that he goes to see sometimes every now and again for fun, right? You become an active part of everything he has going on a regular basis, right? You're integrated into his life. This is the process, truly. I know it sounds weird. You guys are probably like, what? This is the process of a guy falling in love with you, right? And also, right? Also, the desire to integrate you into his life, right? Because as he integrates you into his life, he builds an even deeper bond with you, because you're not just a girl he sees once a week. You're not just a girl he met on Hinge and now, he's trying to see if you're cool enough for him to go on more dates with. You become a part of, when he talks to his mom, he's talking about you. When he goes out with his family or goes on vacation with his family, he brings you. Like you're almost like this, just the step down from being like a wife or fiance, where it's like you're actually a part of everything he has going on. Okay? Sorry, TikTok disconnected for a moment. Okay, TikTok's back online. Right? And in the process of that, integration, you'll eventually, right, as time goes on, you'll be building and building and building that relationship. And that integration of you into his life will make you a regular part of his routine. Someone says they said glitch 3 times in a row. Is it still glitching or is it fine now? Right? Is it still glitching or is it okay now? I want to know that you guys are okay in the TikTok chat. Okay, you guys said better now? Okay. Right? So I was still talking about integration, right? In the process of that routine growing and getting better and being more stable, you're going to become a part of his real everyday life. Not just sometimes, not just when it's fun, not just when it's convenient, right? You're going to be a part of his life. Now, this is where, okay, I want you guys to all pay attention to this part, okay? This is actually really important. When I talk about integration, please pay attention. If you were half asleep before, pay attention now, okay? Because this will help you in the rest of your life and relationships. You need to make a note mentally. If you're building what you think is a relationship with a guy, and in the process of you building what you think is a serious relationship, he is actively trying to avoid integrating you into his life. Okay? I know I'm gonna say it again because I know for some of you guys might be confused. Some people said it glitched right when I said it. Okay, so this is the note you need to be aware of as it relates to integration. If you find yourself in a situation where you're building a relationship with a guy and you think you're under the impression you guys are building a serious long-term relationship that's meant to like go on, into more seriousness, being boyfriend and girlfriend and like actually going the distance. And you find yourself in a situation where he's constantly trying to avoid integrating you into his life. So for example, he's making sure he doesn't introduce you to his parents. He's making sure his brother and sister don't know about you. He's making sure his cousins and nephews don't know about you. He doesn't want to introduce you to his friends. He definitely doesn't want to introduce you to his best friends. He doesn't, you know what I mean? Like everything he's doing, he doesn't want to bring you around his work people. He doesn't want to bring you to any work parties. He's not trying to invite you to any weddings that he's going to or family functions that he's going to. You'll start to realize, right, after a while that when there's a concentrated effort to push against you becoming a part of his life, right, being actually integrated in his life past just him going to see you on dinner dates every now and again, right? You need to make a mental note of that, because let's be so for real right now. If he is purposely trying to not integrate you into his life, it is simply because he is not interested in you. Okay? That integration is a huge part of the process of men falling in love with you, right? When they are actually, I just like cut my whole sentence off, take that drink. When they are actually falling in love with you, and in that process it's happening or it has already happened, they're going to be integrating you into their life. And so the opposite is true. If he's not integrating you into his life, then you know something is wrong. I'm just going to be so straight with you. Okay? Now, I'm not saying he's got to introduce you to his mother, the first 2 days he's met you. Okay? Let's be for real. Okay? Like I say with everything, it's balance. Okay? It's balance. Right? So what I mean by that is, obviously there's a process, then there's a stepping stone towards actually meeting someone's parents, actually getting to know their best friends and their friends and stuff like that. But I'm telling you, as he begins to fall in love with you more and deeper, and your relationship grows, he will begin introducing you and integrating you into his life in many different ways. Some might be small and some might be big. But at least now that I've told you that, you can be paying attention to that so that you can see if it's happening or see if it's not happening whatsoever, right? Because there's a difference between him integrating you into his life slowly and actively trying to not integrate you into his life whatsoever. Those are two completely different things. And maybe now that I say that, you'll notice the difference between the two, okay? And maybe you'll notice that even in your other relationships and situationships. You guys said, if Rosen, did it glitch again? This is actually TikTok's fault. Like this is not me. I can see my internet is perfectly fine. Okay. That's weird that it's glitching. I apologize for you guys. I don't think we've had any glitches on YouTube. Now YouTube gets the best experience, which is funny because it used to be TikTok that would never freeze. Okay. I apologize for you guys for it glitching. I can't do anything though because it's not my internet. I think it's TikTok. So integration is a really big deal, right? Integration is a huge deal. McClary says, I need you to repeat everything you said. Okay. What part did you miss? What part did you miss? You got to tell me what part you missed. Sorry for you guys on TikTok. It's not my internet because YouTube is perfectly fine. They've been having some good times. They see me in like super crisp HD, 1440p actually. Okay, so that's why integration is so important. If you guys miss a lot of it or it was like so glitchy you could barely get any, make sure you hop on YouTube because YouTube always has a great live stream, first of all, and then it always has the live stream that you can replay in case you miss any part. Okay, so I'm going to go on to number 7 because after this, for those of you guys who stay until the end, I also have some questions from Discord that we need to ask and discuss. So by the way, I put the Discord, I'm going to do number 7 right now. I put the Discord link in the live chat on YouTube. It's pinned up there. And then on TikTok, my Discord link is also on my TikTok bio. So if you have a question for me, before I'm done this, you better go and put your question in the Discord. You join the Discord and then you go into the relationship advice section forum, and then you got to put your question in. I'm on number 7 now. So once I say number 7, I'm going to get to the question. So if you don't put your question in by then it's probably too late for you. Okay. So you got to put it in there. Okay. So number 1 was physical attraction. Number 2 was categorization. Number 3 was test. Number 4 was character. Number 5 is attachment. Excuse me. Number 6, integration. And number 7, we have fantasy. Okay. We're going to have a discussion about this. Okay. We have to have a discussion about this. Because much like physical attraction, fantasy, if I don't bring this part up as it relates to men falling in love with you, I would be doing you a disservice. I'd also be very dishonest with you because I know how I feel. I also know how a lot of men feel because I have a lot of men friends. Okay? I need to put this in a way that you can properly absorb it. Men also have fantasies. The same way that you as a woman wouldn't want to date a man who is super rich, super successful, super powerful, drives a Lambo, $1 million, buys you everything you want, takes you out to the super nice restaurants and all that good stuff. The same way you wouldn't want to date a guy like that and then right after that downgrade to a bum who works at McDonald's. Okay? Is the same way for men. We fantasize about different things. When we find a partner that can give us that satisfaction, and I'm not just talking about satisfaction as in finishing, I'm talking about the satisfaction of like doing whatever KINKS's that we're into, doing whatever fantasies that we have. Each guys have different fantasies, right? Fulfilling those things. Once you have that in your life, you become attached to that and it's very difficult to downgrade from that. Okay? The reason I bring this up, because I don't want you guys to think it's all about the physical and it's all about, satisfying down here. Because the fantasy isn't really about just the satisfaction of fulfilling this down here. It's also about the mental satisfaction of feeding that part of himself. Okay? So, I know this is not going to make sense. And I know you guys are like, what is he talking about? This fantasy just doesn't make sense. How does that relate to how a man falls in love? I promise you. When men, and all these other things are valid. All these other things are so true. All these other things happen as well. But the fantasy is also part of the love a man, an attachment a man will feel towards you. The fact that you are fulfilling those fantasies. The best way for me to explain it, right, is I know you probably wonder, well, why do guys go from their quote unquote wifey and go cheat with a side chick or go cheat with a girl who's dusty or go cheat with, a girl who's just not on that level? Here's the thing. Here's the block that happens. I'm giving you some deep male lore right now. Here's the block that happens. For a lot of guys, the woman that they see as a wife that they're attached to, they find it difficult to view her in the way that they would a girl who they would just use for pleasure. What I mean by that is because of their attachment to her emotionally and their respect for her, they don't want to disrespect her or do things that are frowned upon around her. They don't want to show that side of themselves that isn't as presentable. If you're getting my drift, I can't say everything because we're on public platforms here. Okay? What I mean by that is the reason he would cheat with a girl who's a downgrade or a girl who's not as good looking or a girl who's whatever, is because that subconscious pressure of being with the girl you respect so much and that you don't want to show your weirder sides to is easier to do when you're with a girl who you don't have any real emotional attachment to or that much respect for. Okay? And the fantasies can grow a man's attachment to you. I know it sounds, guys, I know it sounds stupid. I know it sounds weird. I know it doesn't make sense. The fantasies can also grow his attachment to you because he becomes attached to being able to fulfill that side of himself with you. Okay? I know that it makes no sense. Okay? I know it doesn't. But if you can maybe you have to replay this 100,000 times before you'll get it, or you'll just have to talk to those men that you're in a relationship with. A lot of times these guys are suppressing their fantasies with the girls that they actually like and are in love with and care about, because they find it difficult to do the same things with the girls that they respect and they have an emotional love and affinity for than they would if they were just dealing with a random girl that they didn't care about. The problem is, though, the guys are still attached to those fantasies because those fantasies don't just magically go away because you find yourself in a relationship or a marriage. So what happens is, the longer those fantasies go unfulfilled, even though the emotional attachment is there, the attachment to that fantasy can sometimes eat away at men, that puts them in a position where they're more weak and prone to making mistakes and giving into temptation because they don't feel fulfilled in that fantasy. I know nothing I just said makes any sense. Tell me on the chat, are you guys lost or what? Are you guys lost or what? Because I know what I'm saying right now is that's why I put it as the last, because I know you guys be like, this don't make a lick of sense. Right? Okay, so it makes a little bit of sense, okay? Sheree says, yeah, I'm lost. These fantasies, you have to understand, there's a difference between sexual gratification and fantasy gratification. What I mean by fantasy gratification, I'm just using fantasy as a placeholder for like KINKS, because we all have them and they're all unique to us and whoever we are. Okay. And like we all have acknowledged, men are physical, visual creatures. I'm not saying that a man can't be in love with you if he doesn't have this fantasy element to attach himself to. But I want you to understand that that's also a portion of the love a man can have for you. The fantasy fulfillment element. Okay? And it's hard to allow yourself as a man. And this is the reason I'm saying this, is because in the process of me experiencing this for myself as a man, feeling like that completeness of being able to fulfill the fantasy element of a relationship with a woman that I'm already in love with, it's a very different feeling, and you become actually whole and way more satisfied in your relationship. So you love the woman, but you're also satisfied, if that makes sense. You're also actually fulfilled. And it makes it a lot easier to not fall into temptation despite being in love with that woman, right? Because you're fulfilled in that sense. And I know it's weird and it doesn't make sense and it just is stupid. But my advice to you, even if nothing of what I said makes sense, my advice to you would be, with every guy that you're meeting, that you're dating, that you're trying to build, like, and I seriously mean, like, you're the ones that you're really trying to build a real relationship with, I would do the job. Doesn't mean you have to do stuff with him, but you need to actually have conversations about, like, you need to have sexual heart-to-hearts. Okay? I know that sounds weird. Okay? I'm not saying do anything with him. I'm not saying jump into bed with him. But you need to have those type of conversations, but they're heart-to-hearts. In the sense that you should get a good understanding of what that man's fantasies are, what they consist of, what he's into, what he desires. And I'm not just talking about I like to, choke girls, things like that. Nothing basic like that. I'm talking about get deep in there. Listen to me. I'm a man. I'm telling you this as a man. All men have deep, dark fantasies that they don't go around openly discussing with everyone. You need to find what those fantasies are. He's not just going to give those fantasies to you for free. You're going to have to work for those things. If you do get those things out of him, though, you'll have a very, very happy man on your hands. Okay? That is like the most pro tip I can ever give you. When you do that, you will have a much deeper understanding of who he is. You'll have a much closer access to his heart. He'll open up to you in ways that you never thought possible, and you'll get a side of him you never thought existed. All of that is amazing for you because that bond that he has for you becomes unbreakable. Can you imagine the man being attached to your character, having put you through all the tests, being attached to the person you are, loving your quirks, and then on top of all of that, fulfilling all of his deepest, darkest fantasies that he never even mentioned to any of his exes because he was too scared that they would judge him for it? Imagine the type of grip you have on that man's balls if you have that amount of power and understanding of him. You're literally unstoppable. You're literally unstoppable. Okay? And I'm so serious about that. Okay? Brenda says, how do you start the conversation about fantasies? It's something that you ease into. Like I said, this is only something you're going to be talking about with someone you're trying to build a serious long-term relationship with. So I'm not saying you necessarily need to be asking stuff like this on the first date. There's a difference between having dirty talk and having a heart-to-heart about fantasies. Those are two different things. Because I think when I say talk about fantasies, you guys are thinking, oh, well, just dirty talk him and just, you know what I mean? Just talk about this and, jump right into doing stuff. And look, that's not what I'm talking about. Make it a heart-to-heart, but about that topic. Okay? Right? And trust me, when you're actually having a heart-to-heart about these type of things, it will feel very different than it just, having dirty talk with someone. Okay? It's not the same. I would also advise you to not do this over text. Like I advise you with everything. Do this in person. Make this a heart-to-heart. Okay? Where he feels free to tell you and show you everything that he's into. Okay? That includes maybe if he wants to show you the type of corn, CORN, corn that he watches, I would advise you to let him show you that. Let him show you the real stuff though, not the surface level stuff. Let him show you the real stuff that he watches. You'll be shocked. I'm telling you, you'll be shocked. Not that it's a bad thing, but all guys have that in them. They might not always express it, but if you know that and understand that, he'll be so much more attached to you than you realize, okay? And you'll become irreplaceable. Melissa in the YouTube chat says there are SCX workers for that. That's fine if you feel that way, but then don't be upset or offended when you realize that your man's been relieving himself to other girls or other women or fantasizing about being with other women. Don't be confused. If you adopt the mindset that I don't do that type of stuff, he can go, get with other type of girls if he wants that type of stuff. That's fine. Like I said, I never tell you guys what to do or how to live your life. But if that's your mindset, don't be confused then when your man that you like and you love and you care about is relieving himself to other women. It's just, I hate to say it like that, but it's the truth. And I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't address that as that is part of the process of a man falling in love with you. Don't think of the fantasy element as just the release. It's not just about that, okay? The fantasy element, that's why I saved it for last, is really about the mental and the fulfillment in the mental, okay? And that's part of an attachment a man will grow to you that will make him in love with you. I know it sounds weird and strange. I promise you, if you've ever experienced it though, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, you will know what I'm talking about if you ever experience it. In the YouTube chat, Melissa Rose says, make him pay if he's KINKY like that, or let him pay a worker. That's fine. That's fine. If that's how you view it, that's perfectly fine. Right? Suzuki said, just be secure in yourself first. That's so key. I agree. Right? Right? I know for some of you, this is confusing and this doesn't make sense. This is like advanced mathematics. That's why I saved this to last. I know for some of you, you just be like, I didn't even get it. Didn't even make sense. Don't understand at all what he's talking about. But for some of you, I know something has clicked and you understand what it is that I'm saying. Okay, we're on TikTok and YouTube, so I can't go into too much detail. You kind of got to speak in innuendo that you guys should be able to extract the truth from what I'm saying, but it really does happen, right? Because like I just told you, the same way you wouldn't want to downgrade from being with someone who is a rich man who has a whole bunch of resources and a nice car and all that good stuff, is the same way for guys. We're just different in that sense. We don't want to downgrade when it comes to fulfilling our fantasies with someone who really gets us in that sense. I'm not just talking about relieves us, but gets us as a man. Trust me. Trust you me. And on top of that, bonus for you, you will build a deeper understanding of a guy and his character in ways that you never really would ever get to see on a dinner date, right? Once you start getting into that realm and you actually put some focus and dedicated energy into that realm and have a heart-to-heart in that realm, you'll see him in a completely different light than maybe you never would have gotten to see if you only focused on all the other stuff. Right? Lisa says, I get it, which is why at 58, I'm done. Most men my age can't do anything without assistance. Okay. Kate says, I'm into it, but how do we get him to tell us? I've asked, but I can tell he's playing it down. It's so funny too. This is how you know that this exists in guys and they're nervous to share this about themselves, is because as visual and physical as these guys are, when you start trying to have a heart to heart with them about fantasy topics or topics, you know, that's more, it's not surface level. You know what I mean? Like we're talking about the deep stuff as it relates to that type of stuff. It's funny how the men get shy, even though they're the first ones to jump into the physical, right? That should tell you that there's something there to be discovered. And it's possible to pull that out of someone. Okay, you have to ask the right questions though. And that might be a whole different topic for another day on how to extract that from a guy. But you can extract that from a guy. Right? You got to be easy with it. You got to be non-judgmental too, because I promise you, if for those of you who might have a man or a guy you're talking to, you will be shocked the type of stuff that these guys are into that you had no idea of. Okay? Trust me. And if you did some digging, you would realize how deep the rabbit hole goes. Right? Someone says, what if he watches looks nothing like you? Oh, like what if he watches corn that looks nothing like you? Then you have some more digging to do. You got to ask him some follow-up questions and be like, well, why do you watch that? Why do you enjoy that? What is it that you enjoy about that? You got to study the psychology of what his fantasies are and why he has those fantasies. Because what you're trying to do here is this is assuming you're building a deep romantic connection with this person. You're trying to understand how you can, based on who you already are, fulfill any of those fantasies if possible. Okay, I know for some of you, some things that they are into, maybe you're not into and it's just too much for you and you don't like that. That's fine. But then you also should be curious to know what it is that you can fulfill, so that in the process of your growing this relationship and growing this bond with him, right, you don't find yourself in a position where you're growing an emotional bond with someone who doesn't get fulfilled in the fantasy sense, and that he goes out into the world and he's weak to other things and other temptations because he's not getting fulfilled in that. And I tell that to girls. I tell that to my guy friends as well, that they should do that with girls. I think it's an everybody thing, but I think especially for you guys with guys knowing how guys think, I think that that's super important. You know what I mean? You don't got to be the craziest, most, a wild girl ever. But at the end of the day, if this is your man that you're trying to build a serious long-term relationship with, and your Mrs. Vanilla, probably going to leave him desiring more. Okay. And I don't think you want your man to be in a perpetual state of desiring more. That's not good. Okay. That's not good. Okay. I couldn't leave that out and not address that, knowing that that is part of the process of men falling in love with women. It's part of the process. Okay. There is something to that. If you think there's nothing to that, hey, maybe I'm not speaking to you at all. Maybe I'm just talking a bunch of garbage and I'm just an idiot. Maybe I don't know anything about anything. Okay? But for some of you, maybe it might resonate with you. Noelle, I'm not even gonna repeat what Noelle said, but she said her man's into some stuff. So interesting. Okay. Now, so that was number one was physical attraction. Number two was categorization. Number three was test. Number four, character. Number five, attachment. Number six, integration. And number seven was fantasy. Well, I guess we could call it fantasy fulfillment, right? We could call it that, fantasy fulfillment. So now let's step into the Discord, where I'm going to be answering some of your questions. I think we only have one question here. Oh, let me go back. Let me make sure the Discord open. And there we go. We're in the Discord. Now let's head over to the relationship advice section, where we have beautiful, oh my gosh, you guys definitely asked some questions while we were on here. So I think we've got a few to do today. We got Claudia here first. And the reason I like to ask the questions like this, guys, is because I want you guys to not only, I don't want just me to help you as if I know everything. I also want you guys to help each other. And I feel like this is the best way for me or you guys to also help each other, because then you guys get a sense of things as well. Okay. I don't just want it to be as if I'm the only one that knows everything and you guys don't know anything. Okay. So let's go ahead and start reading. Let's go ahead and start reading Claudia's message here. So Claudia says, okay, so here's my story. So let me just pull this up I'm going to pull this up on my screen, guys, so that I have it. Okay. She says, okay, here's my story. I'm a single mom of three great kids in my 40s. I live in New York, right? I met Billy about a year ago. He started coaching my son for private lacrosse lessons. We started off as friends, but I realized there was an attraction there. We innocently flirted for a while, but he was hesitant because he was my son's coach. And I never dated, he was my son's coach and never dated a mother before. He's very strict about that. We only saw each other when my son had lessons, but we spoke on the phone and texted. We got in-depth conversation. He's very much like me, very much into manifesting our best lives, quantum physics. I think you meant quantum jumping, or maybe you meant quantum physics. Quantum physics, you name it. We've talked for hours. I know about his past. He knows about my past, my marriage and divorce. He's never been married, but has a daughter. Great dad. Okay. His father was diagnosed with cancer. His father lives in Florida. In December, he said he was going to Florida to take care of his father and get him ready for surgery. This was a long and excruciating journey for him. In February, he came back with his father to have chemo at the hospital in NYC. He was, while he was back, we hung out and things got intimate. He went back to Florida with his father so he could have his last days at home. Unfortunately, his father lost his battle with cancer and passed away April 5th. Throughout this time, we've been texting and talking on the phone. I've been supporting him the whole time. I lost my father 3 years ago, so I know this is hard, and I was giving him his space, but still texting to check up on him. A week or so ago, he stopped answering my text, and his last text was, "Give me some time." I said, "No problem. Please take care of yourself." I am respecting his request for space. Let me just move this down here for you guys. I'm respecting his request for space, and I don't plan on reaching out to him. I'm waiting until he reaches out to me. I guess my question is if he will come back. I know it was only one night that we were intimate, but I felt like we had a strong connection. If he never reaches out, should I let it go? Okay, Claudia, this is a great question. I'm so glad you asked this question because it's so detailed, and that someone said earlier, it's like a Lifetime movie. I love it. So what I'll say to your question, you got a lot of stuff going on here. First of all, so sad for his loss there. And I understand that it's difficult to deal with a situation like this where you're trying to actively balance allowing him the space to get over his situation with that with his father, but also understanding that you have needs as well and you can't sit around and wait forever. Okay, and I completely understand that, and I get that. In your scenario, I get that you have been, how do I say this? I get that you have enjoyed your time with him and felt like you guys were getting along well. But you also have to understand that every person and human being grieves differently. And sometimes you have to just be patient with people and allow them to come to you, especially when it comes to men. You cannot convince a man to speak to you or talk to you or hang out with you simply because you like him. You really have to, for guys, it's really mostly about figuring out how you can allow him to make his own decision and even just understanding if he likes you in the first place. Now, I can't make the determination of whether or not he's into you because obviously you guys got intimate. That doesn't necessarily mean he's into you though, but obviously you guys have been getting along, right? So obviously him spending time with you, he's got to feel something for you, right? Feel something for you if you guys were getting along, unless you're super delusional, but I don't think that you're super delusional. That doesn't come across that way, right? So assuming he has some sort of affinity for you or enjoyed spending his time with you, I think the best thing for you is to do what you've been doing and allow him to come to the realization of whether or not he wants you to be in his life. The reason I say that is because in this scenario, the only thing for you to do is the only other option would be for you to push more and tell him, hey, I'm here for you. Hey, I want to talk. Hey, I want to hang out. But for a lot of guys, especially in your scenario, because around the same time that you first started getting to know each other and meeting is the same time that he kind of went through this whole situation. You guys aren't necessarily close enough that he would want to confide in you everything that's going on in his life or in his mind or of his feelings. And that's fine. Obviously, it's the beginning of the relationship. You've got to give him time to warm up to you. And if he is wanting to share with you, if he is really feeling connected with you and he does feel that bond and connection the same way you felt when you guys spent time together, then he will eventually work through the situation and come back and, have a discussion with you, and maybe a relationship will build from there. I can't say whether or not that would happen. I'm just saying that you have to allow him to come to that realization and make that choice. In your situation, the most you can possibly do is tell him that you're there for him. If he needs someone to talk to, you're there. And anytime he wants to share, you're more than willing to listen to him. And that's all you can do. Aside from that, I wouldn't go pushing and trying to get him to go out with you or hang out with you. Because even if you texted him and you got him to hang out with you, it would only come from a place of him doing it because you asked. And you don't want to build the relationship. You don't want to find yourself in a position where you're pushing for him to spend time with you. And then after a while, you're unsure of whether he's really into you or if he's just spending time with you just to pass time, right? Let him come to his own realization that he wants you and wants to be with you, even though his situation has been tough and rough. He's got to come to his own realization. You can't push men into wanting to be with you or spend time with you. I know it sucks, and I know that the timing sucks, but I'm a very firm believer of if it is the right person, it will be the right time. I'm not a believer of the wrong person the right person at the wrong time, simply because that would make them the wrong person. And if they were the right person, it would be the right time. So I say all that to say, you've done all you can do, and you have to leave the rest up to the universe and decide on whether or not this is the man for you. Okay. Brisa said, don't say a peep. By the way, guys, if you guys also want to give your advice to her or what you think of her situation, or if you've been through a similar situation, please feel free to go onto the Discord and let her know as well. There's you guys can't see it here, but underneath this, Bree has also answered her question with her own opinion and perspective. And I think that's awesome. It doesn't just have to be me giving my opinion and perspective as if I know everything. Okay. So that was Claudia's message. Let's get here to this one. I think we answered already. This was just, you see guys, people be answering other people's questions. This was Callie's question from last week, and we got some people responding, some good conversation happening there. So if you guys want to answer people, you can also do that in the chat. Okay, let's go over to, we have Melissa's question here. Why is that like that? Let's see here. Sorry, I don't know why that's like that. Dating advice. Okay, so Melissa's question, let's bring this up. Melissa's question. So she says, I went on a date with a guy and told him I want to move things slow and get to know him. After the date, he gave me the longest hug and kissed me on my forehead. I could tell he wanted more and was turned on by my body. He asked me if I wanted to come over. I said no. If he asked me on a second date, should I bring up how I didn't like that he asked me to come over to his place after I already told him I wanted to take things slow? Okay, this is a good question. Melissa, my advice to you would be you have to make it clear that you are standing on business, okay? If you do not make it clear that you're standing on business, you might when I say standing on business, for those of you who don't know, I just mean like you have to make it clear that you respect yourself. And while you might like him and want to build a relationship with him, you're not going to compromise your morals and values for him or just because he wants something from you. You have to make that clear the next time you see him, or maybe if it's on a phone call, I wouldn't text this. So if you want to address this, I would make him schedule a phone call. So be like, when are you free? When can you talk? I want to have a conversation, so that he can get the understanding that this is serious to you. The fact that you would schedule a phone conversation just to address this means that it's serious. It'll also force him to take it seriously and address the fact that, hey, I like you. I like spending time with you. You're a cool person. I'm interested in getting to know you. However, I'm not that girl. If you truly don't want to represent yourself that way, you have to make it clear. You got to be mean. I know you like the guy. You got to be mean though, and say, I'm not that girl. So if you're over here trying to do some weird stuff, I'm not coming over to your house. Okay. We can go out on a date. We can have some fun. We can enjoy each other's company, but this going out and you can even say it in a way that's respectful. It doesn't have to be either you take me out on a $300 date or it's nothing. You can say we can go to lots of places that doesn't require us to spend a bunch of money. We can go to the movies or whatever, things like that. I just don't feel like going to your place when I've only went on 1 or 2 dates with you is appropriate. And that's not something I'm willing to compromise. And you really have to take it that serious. I know it's going to make you come across as mean, but when you stand on business like that, it sobers him up and lets him know that, okay, I gotta stand up straight when I'm around her or talking to her. I can't just approach her any type of way. So that would be my advice to you, Melissa. You gotta schedule a phone call and address this seriously. Don't half address it. Don't wait till the next time you guys hang out and kind of casually say it in passing. Address this for real so that he understands this is for real. And then from there on forward, if he really is interested in you for the right reasons and trying to build a relationship with you, first of all, he'll gain respect for you and the fact that you stood up for yourself. And it'll also set a really good precedent for the rest of the relationship that, hey, you can't approach me with the BS because I'm not about the BS, right? And that's a good precedent to set. Trust me, with the guys you like, don't be in fear of being the mean girl. Trust me, if the guy really likes you, he's actually going to respect you for being the mean girl. He's not going to be all flustered or upset. The guys who get upset are only upset because they didn't have any intention of being with you in the first place. Okay, so our next question comes in from Victoria. Victoria says, hello, during the weekend, titled, I made a mistake, how to fix it. Victoria says, hello. During the weekend, I got drunk and the guy I'm talking to replied to me after many hours. Normally, I would just try to ignore it, but because I was drunk, I accused him of having sex, and that's why I wasn't replying for so long. He said no and explained to me he was on a night out and sent photos of him alone in bed. I kept going. I think you meant to say on. I kept going on saying go have sex and other very stupid, unreasonable things. He was taking it well at first, but then he had enough. In the morning, I apologized and I said I was drunk. He said, maybe I'll call you in a few days. Let's see. So I went on to apologize further and I went to see the photo he sent that night and saw 2 empty glasses of wine. Okay. Let's see here. I want to follow again. 2 empty glasses. I lost my place. And in the middle of apologizing, I started having a go at him and saying it's weird that there are 2 glasses of wine. He got really angry with me and sent a photo of the glass and said he drinks water in a wine glass and said, "Okay, stop texting me. Bye." I then went on to apologize again, and he just sent me a thumbs up. Then I said goodnight, and since 2 days we didn't speak. I feel so stupid. I don't know why I acted this way, and everything was fine before. What should I do? Should I wait for him to reach out myself? Maybe he needs space to cool down, but I just know I'm in the wrong and I want to fix it. But now he probably thinks I'm crazy, and I know it was quite bad. Okay, this is why I always tell you guys and advise you guys to cut out the alcohol. Not because alcohol is the worst thing ever, but this is actually, it's funny. I don't want to make this too much about me, but stories like this is actually part of the reason why I stopped drinking, because I hated waking up in the morning and regretting the things that I said or did while drunk. That's actually one of the main reasons why I quit drinking. And I wanted to be more accountable to myself and my actions all the time. So I say that to say the alcohol is probably the first mistake. And if you know you get like that when you drink, my advice to you would be to literally shut off your phone. I'm not joking. Like, shut it off so you don't even have the ability to pick it up and use it. Jazz says, or at least know your limit. But here's the thing. Everyone knows their limit when they're sober. Because one drink, when you're sober, it's easy to just say, I'm going to have one drink. The problem with the first drink is that the first drink loosens you up and makes it easier to take the second drink. And then it just becomes a vicious cycle after that. Each subsequent drink makes it easier to take the next one. And then all of a sudden you're blackout, right? Maybe some people have self-control, but I'm just speaking on, why it becomes a problem for people. So secondly, I would address for you, Victoria, in this scenario, my honest advice to you is you got to take a chill pill, right? Because if this man, right, you said this is a guy you're talking to, when you guys say talking, I don't know exactly what you mean, simply because that could mean a lot of things to a lot of people. And I don't know if that guy is considering talking to mean the same thing that you consider it to mean. I'm obviously assuming that for both of you, it would be inappropriate if he was drinking wine in bed with another girl. However, I think that your approach was coming from a place where I understand why you were angry, but I think your approach was a little bit wrong or off. This is the thing. I'm gonna give you a pro tip here. My honest advice to you guys is, if you ever feel like you've caught a man in the act, or you've caught him slipping, or you see something that looks suspicious, this is something I use in my own life. My honest advice to you guys would be to hold it. Don't get so emotional that you react right away. Take it as information, and then go and start asking. When you see him in person, ask him some follow-up questions that indirectly relate to the situation that you're discussing, right? So, for example, in this situation, what my advice to you would have been to just ask him what he did that night, where he was, where he hung out, you know what I mean? Things like that. What time he went to bed, what did he watch? And then when you see him again, ask him some other indirect questions about that night and see if the answers match up or the answers become different. For example, if he says, "Oh, I'm just laying in bed and I'm watching this movie on Netflix," and then the next time you speak to him, he says, "Oh, so that night I was laying in bed and I was eating a taco." Wait, but what happened to you were just eating a taco? That's it? Yeah, I was eating a taco and I was scrolling through TikTok. Wait a minute. Because when I asked you what you were doing in bed, you originally said that you were watching a movie. You didn't say anything about eating a taco or scrolling through TikTok, right? And these are the type of ways you can actually get more information indirectly. You got to be like an FBI agent or police interrogator. But as it directly relates to your situation, Victoria, my honest advice to you would be to just leave it. You have already said and done too much. You need to give him the space now to either address what it is that he needs to tell you, if there was really 2 wine glasses there and he had someone over, or to just be like, you know what, I forgive you. I'm not upset about it anymore. Let's just move on. But right now, as it stands, Victoria, you've done way too much. So you need to take a chill pill. And also for the future, I would advise you to either turn off or put away your phone when you get drunk, or maybe you might have to hold back on some of the drinking. You know what I mean? Just because you don't want to, if that's how emotional you get and you're not able to control yourself when you get drunk like that, you have a problem on your hands, because you're going to have a lot of fights with anyone you're in a relationship with if you're constantly in a situation where you get drunk and you get overly emotional and do and say things that you regret. You don't want to be in that position. And I know that because I've been in that position. And that's why I quit drinking. Okay. Our next question here this is our last one, comes from Goose. Let's see what Goose says. Okay. Goose says, 42, casually dating a 39-year-old male. We've been friends for almost 5 years, and about 2 years ago, we became flirty. We paused and then picked back up a year ago, and we've been together ever since. Both of us have stated that we don't want to get married again and just enjoy each other's company. Okay? We started on Snap. You started on Snap? 42? You guys are on Snap? And okay, no judgment. The other night, he shared his fantasy with me. Did you write this before I said it, or did you write this after I said it? The other night, he shared his fantasy with me. That threw me, and I was a bit sad, I guess, because I felt like he wanted me to be his little corn star. After watching your stream, my question is, was that an attempt for him to get closer to me and open up? Am I taking it all wrong? He's never been disrespectful to me, disrespectful before, so I'm not sure if I'm just being overly sensitive. He always asks me if I'm out with someone or if I have a date, I can't make it out to him. I'm really confused. Okay, this honestly sounds to me, this is a great question, Goose. This honestly sounds to me like a situation in which this guy who you're speaking to was trying to have a fantasy heart to heart with you. Okay. I know that might have thrown you off if you're not used to having, in intimate conversations like that. But I want you, like I said to you guys earlier, there's a difference between someone just trying to dirty talk you and, being in person and having a heart to heart about what you guys are into, what your KINKSs are, things like that, because those are a little bit closer to the heart. Those aren't just, I just want to satisfy myself. And like you said, Goose, he's been, for the most part, in the rest of the relationship, been very respectful to you and never tried to disrespect you. So clearly, if he's been respectful to you, it's not just about him telling you this stuff because he's trying to get down and dirty and trying to get, trying to relieve himself. Okay, so I say that to say, I think the best course of action for you would be to try and listen to him and ask him questions about this topic, because if he's bringing it up, maybe that's something that's important to him. And the thing about it is if you're actually trying to build a relationship with this guy and you set the precedent that he can't share with you the honest thoughts and feelings that he might have towards you or the relationship, or, just things that he might not feel comfortable sharing with everyone that he wants to share with you. If you start to shut that down right at the beginning, you're setting that precedent that for the rest of the relationship, he'll begin to be closed off to you and not want to share with you the things that he's thinking or feeling. Okay. And I know it might sound like it's super crazy and super unreasonable, but I'm telling you, if guys are sharing with you stuff that's intimate to them like that, and they feel like the response they get from you is, that's crazy, that's stupid, why would you, and you get angry, then in their mind, they go, okay, I should not share things about myself or how I really feel because she'll get angry. And so in the future, they share less and share less and share less. But then you end up losing, because then you wonder why, how come you don't talk to me about anything? How come you don't share anything with me? How come you don't ever open up to me? But things like this are happening and you might not notice them at the time, but these are the reasons why they stop opening up to you. Okay. So that's my advice to you. I would go back and actually try your best to make him feel comfortable talking about it. And just listening, even if you're like, whoa, this is off the deep end, just listen and make him feel comfortable talking about it. Because if you're trying to build a relationship with this guy, like, you need to know him inside and out, truthfully. And if that makes you uncomfortable, then maybe you're not ready for that relationship or that person. Okay. So that would be my advice to you. Okay. Last one we're going to do here today. Lena Leak, she literally just submitted this in time. Lena Leak says, hi, Tomisin. I dated a guy for just over 2 months, and he eventually broke it off after an incident where I went to the movies. So let me just move this down. After an incident where I went to the movies and with a guy friend on the same day he traveled overseas. I don't think I was doing anything wrong, so I didn't hide it. But in retrospect, I realized I shouldn't have done it, and I would have felt away if it would have been the other way around. I fought for his forgiveness, and at first seemed he came around, but then it was never the same. Now he hasn't spoken to me in over 4 months and unfollowed me on Instagram. Thing is, he had many red flags, but I feel badly that I gave him a reason to end it with me. This haunts me over almost every day, and I want to know how I can get past it. Okay, Lena Lee, this is a great question. Now, my answer to you truthfully would be that, yes, I do believe, from my own perspective, I think that you're in the wrong. Because if you go out to the movies with a guy the same day that this guy travels, okay, if I was a guy, if I was him, that would tell me that you were waiting for me to not be there to do this. Because you didn't seem to have the same desire to go to the movies with this guy when I was there. And doing it the same day I travel makes me feel like either this was premeditated or you're literally in that much need of attention and validation that you can't go a single day with me not being there, and you need to have someone else keeping you company if I'm not there. Either way, if I'm a guy, truthfully, I'm just going to tell you the truth. If I'm a guy and I'm seeing that and experiencing that, I've already said to myself, yeah, this person is in too much search of validation and attention, this is not going to be someone I can make a wife out of. This is what I would personally feel as a man. Because if we're talking for 2 months and it's somewhat, you serious, and then I leave for not even a whole 24 hours and you go to the movies with a random guy, right? I'm now starting to question what the true status of our relationship with. Even if this guy is a guy friend, what we talked about when we talk about guy friends and all this, you're my best friend and this and that, that's not stuff, right? I would feel like as a guy, it's quite convenient that your guy friend you would only find the time to go to the movies with your guy friends the same day that I travel. Okay, I would think that that's quite strange. And especially 2 months in, sometimes people are only looking for one small thing to say, this is the end of the relationship. So my advice to you to get over this situation would be for, honestly, you just to move forward. I think that when you're 2 months in, people can only go by your actions. You said you apologize, but there's nothing more you can do to convince him to forgive you. So my advice for you would be to acknowledge where you went wrong. Also ask yourself, why did you choose to go out with that guy friend on that day? Be honest with yourself. Was it that you have some sort of attachment to that guy friend, or is it that you just needed the attention and the company of being with someone? Either of those two things are issues that you need to work through, because why is it that the moment someone, your partner or the person you're talking to is not there, you feel like you need the company of someone else, that you can't just be patient and wait till your partner comes back, right? Lennon Leak said it was a coincidence that he asked. Well, then if it was a coincidence, right? My next question becomes, if you felt, right? Even if I know that it's you, so you feel like your intention was there. If you felt like the coincidence would have been inappropriate if it was the other way around, then you also need to acknowledge that his feelings are valid in the why he feels the way that he feels. Sometimes you just go through unfortunate situations, and I think now you'll better have an understanding of if you are building. That's why I told you guys this guy and this girlfriend's best friends or good friends thing can become very tricky when you're trying to maneuver relationships and partners, when you don't set those boundaries of like, hey, I'm with someone, I can't be doing certain things or whatever. I'm not saying that you did anything super wrong or anything like that, but I just want you to understand that's how you can get caught up very easily. So my advice to you would be to take this situation and identify how you found yourself in the situation and why you might have agreed to go out to the movies with this guy the moment your guy leaves, how that makes you perceived by the guy, and then answer to yourself how you might adjust that for the future. Okay. Right. Rose Petal says men can't handle what they do to us. Never tell a man what you're doing with another man. If he was just a guy friend to go to the movies with, he doesn't have a reason to know. Well, then my question to you, Rose Petal, would be if that's how you would go about it. My question would be, if you were talking to a guy and he went out with a girlfriend and never told you, and then you found out through someone else, how would you feel about that? That would be my question to you. Okay, so that's the show for today. For those of you who are curious about rewatching the show in its entirety, or you missed some points, you missed some things, you want to get some answers or anything like that, you can go on my YouTube right above my head on TikTok, and you're already on YouTube if you're on YouTube. And then for those of you who are wondering for those of you who are wanting to just follow me on Instagram, see what I'm doing, see what I'm up to, be up my butt about everything, you can always go on my Instagram and follow me there, as well as there on YouTube. All right. So I will see you guys tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Exactly. We had so many people in the YouTube chat, so many amazing people. And I'll make sure that, we have a great live stream tomorrow as well. All right. I love you guys so much. I will see you tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern time, right on time. Okay. I love you so much.